Chapter 1. Lost in the Woods. Cappy blinked her eyes open and stretched her little legs. The ground beneath her was soft and covered in leaves, and the air smelled earthy and fresh, but something didn't feel quite right. She wiggled her nose and looked around. "Wait a minute," she mumbled to herself. Where am I?" The tall trees above her swayed gently, their branches making soft, rustling sounds. The sunlight peeked through the leaves, making pretty patterns on the ground. It was peaceful, but Cappy's heart began to thump. "Oh no," she whispered. "This isn't my cozy spot near the river. This isn't home." Cappy remembered earlier that day when she had followed the scent of delicious fruits deeper into the woods. She'd found a pile of juicy berries and crunchy plants, and oh, they were so tasty! But maybe she had wandered too far. Now it was late in the afternoon, and she didn't recognize anything around her. Her ears twitched nervously. She couldn't hear her mom calling, and her little brother wasn't scampering around like he always did. She was all alone. Cappy took a deep breath, just like her mom had taught her. "Okay, stay calm, Cappy. You're smart and brave. You can figure this out." She stood up and shook off the bits of leaves stuck to her fur. Her belly felt full from the snacks she'd eaten, so at least she wasn't hungry. But her heart still felt a little wobbly. "I'll just follow the sunlight," she decided, looking up at the golden rays peeking through the treetops. "It's got to lead me somewhere, right?" As she started walking, the forest seemed to come alive around her. Birds chirped happily in the trees, and little bugs buzzed by her ears. A squirrel darted past, carrying a giant acorn, almost as big as its head. "Hey!" Cappy called, but the squirrel was already gone, vanishing up a tree. She sighed but kept moving, her tiny paws crunching softly on the leaves below. "Don't worry, Cappy," she said to herself, trying to sound cheerful. "You're going to find your way home. Mom and little Benny are probably waiting for you by the river right now." The forest grew quieter as she walked. The tall trees stretched higher, and the shadows began to grow longer. Every now and then, Cappy thought she heard a rustle behind her, but when she turned around, nothing was there. "Must just be the wind," she said, her voice shaking a little. But deep down, she wished she wasn't alone. After a while, she stopped by a fallen log to rest her legs. "Okay, Cappy," she said, "you've got this. You just need to keep going. Home can't be that far away." She looked around one more time, took another deep breath, and stood up. "All right, woods," she announced to no one in particular. "I'm coming through. Don't get in my way." With her chin held high and her little paws patting confidently on the ground, Cappy continued deeper into the forest. She was determined to find her way, no matter what, and so her adventure began. Chapter 2. Meeting the chattering squirrel. Cappy trotted along the forest path, her little paws making soft crunching noises on the leaves. She hummed a nervous little tune to herself to feel less alone. "Do-do-dee, find the river, find my home, do-do-dee." Suddenly, a shower of tiny acorns rained down from above, making her squeak and hop sideways. "Hey, watch it," she called, looking up. Above her, on a wobbly branch, a small squirrel with the fluffiest tail she had ever seen was stuffing acorns into his cheeks. The squirrel paused, tilting his head to look down at Cappy. "Oh, sorry about that. Didn't see you there," he chattered quickly. "Busy, busy, busy. Gotta collect these for the winter, you know." Cappy blinked at him, a little confused by how fast he was talking. Hi, my name is Cappy. I'm lost, and I'm trying to find my home near the river. Do you know which way that might be?" The squirrel zipped down the tree faster than Cappy could blink. Now he was standing right in front of her, his tiny paws holding an acorn like it was the most precious thing in the world. "The river, you say? The squirrel muttered, tapping the acorn against his head like he was thinking, "I think I've seen a river before. Or maybe it was a puddle? No, it was definitely a river. Or maybe it was last Tuesday?" Cappy tilted her head. Are you sure you remember?" The squirrel grinned and puffed out his chest. "Of course. I remember everything. Well, mostly everything. Okay, sometimes. But I do remember seeing water somewhere over there." He pointed dramatically with his paw. Cappy squinted in the direction he was pointing. It didn't look very familiar, but she didn't want to be rude. "Thank you," she said politely. "What's your name?" "Sprig, best acorn collector in the forest," the squirrel said, spinning in a little circle. "Want an acorn? I've got plenty." He held out the tiniest acorn Cappy had ever seen. She tried not to giggle. Oh, no, thank you. I don't eat acorns. Sprig gasped like she had just said the sky was green. You don't eat acorns? What do you eat then? Grass, fruits, maybe some flowers, Cappy said shyly. Sprig stared at her for a moment, then burst out laughing. Flowers? You eat flowers? That's so silly. But hey, you do you, Cappy. Cappy smiled despite herself. Thanks for trying to help, Sprig. I'd better keep going now. Sprig saluted her with his tiny paw. Good luck, Cappy. And if you ever want an acorn, you know where to find me. As Cappy walked away, she could hear Sprig muttering to himself, Flowers! What a wild idea! Cappy giggled and kept walking. Even though Sprig wasn't much help, it felt nice to talk to someone. She was starting to feel a little braver with each step. Ahead, the trees seemed to grow taller and the forest got quieter again. Cappy's ears perked up. Maybe this time she'd find someone who really knew the way. Chapter 3. Advice from the Wise Owl. The forest was getting darker now, and Cappy's steps slowed as she looked around. The trees were taller here, their branches twisting together like they were holding hands. The air felt cooler, and the sounds of chirping birds and buzzing bugs had faded. Cappy stopped to catch her breath under a wide tree with a trunk so big it would have taken 5 capybaras to hug it. She looked up and sighed. I wish someone could help me find my way home. Just as she spoke, a soft voice called from above. Who needs help? Cappy jumped in surprise and looked up. There, perched on a low branch, was a big, fluffy owl with bright golden eyes that twinkled like little lanterns. Oh, hello, Cappy said nervously. I didn't see you up there. The owl tilted her head, blinking slowly. Few do. I am Olive the owl, and you are? I'm Cappy, she said. I'm lost, and I'm trying to find my home by the river. Do you know how to get there? Olive hooted softly, her voice calm and soothing. The river? Rivers are clever, always flowing to find their own way, but I might know something that could help. Cappy's ears perked up with hope. Really? Oh, thank you. What should I do? Olive fluffed her feathers and closed her eyes for a moment as if she were thinking very hard. Listen closely, young capybara. Follow the smell of flowers. Where flowers grow, you may find a clearing. And where there's a clearing, there may be a way to see your path. Cappy furrowed her brow. Follow the smell of flowers? Olive nodded wisely. Indeed, but remember this riddle, little one. Home is where water flows and hearts grow. Cappy tilted her head, trying to make sense of it. Water flows and hearts grow. Okay, I'll remember. Thank you, Olive. Olive hooted gently. You are brave, little one. Trust your instincts and you will find your way. Feeling a little more confident, Cappy sniffed the air. She caught a faint, sweet smell, like flowers blooming after the rain. I think I smell something, she exclaimed. Then go, young traveler, Olive said, spreading her wings. And take care in the shadows. The forest can be full of surprises. With that, Olive flapped her great wings and soared silently into the sky, disappearing into the trees. Cappy took another deep breath and followed the floral scent, feeling her paws grow steady again. As she walked, the smell grew stronger, and soon she found herself in a beautiful meadow bursting with colorful flowers. This must be the clearing Olive was talking about, Cappy said to herself. The flowers swayed gently in the breeze and the sunlight danced across the open space. It felt peaceful, but also a little confusing. Paths stretched out in every direction, crisscrossing the meadow like a giant puzzle. Cappy spun in a slow circle, trying to figure out which one to take. Left? Right? Straight ahead? Oh no, how do I choose? She remembered Olive's riddle. Home is where water flows and hearts grow. But as much as she thought about it, the paths all looked the same. Okay, Cappy, she said aloud, trying to stay positive. Let's just pick one and hope for the best. With a small, determined nod, she picked the path to her left and stepped back into the forest, hoping it would lead her closer to home. Chapter 4. The Playful Raccoon Duo. Cappy followed the winding path from the flower-filled meadow, her paws patting softly against the dirt. The forest was growing quieter, and for a while, all she could hear was the rustle of leaves and the faint chirp of a distant bird. The path didn't seem to lead anywhere in particular, but she kept moving forward. Suddenly, a loud giggle broke the silence. Ha ha! You missed me! A squeaky voice called out. No, I didn't. You cheated! Another voice shouted back. Before Cappy could figure out what was happening, 2 little raccoons tumbled out from behind a bush, rolling and wrestling like a pair of fuzzy tumbleweeds. They squeaked and laughed as they chased each other around, their striped tails flicking back and forth. Hello? Cappy called hesitantly. The raccoons froze mid-roll, staring at her with wide, curious eyes. One of them, a smaller raccoon with a patch of fur missing from his ear, scrambled up first. He whispered loudly. The other raccoon, slightly bigger with a fluffy tail that looked twice his size, narrowed his eyes suspiciously. I dunno, you ask her. Cappy took a step closer and smiled politely. Hi, I'm Cappy. I'm lost and I'm trying to find my home near the river. Can you help me? The smaller raccoon immediately perked up. Oh, sure, we know everything about this forest. Everything, the bigger raccoon echoed proudly. Cappy's heart lifted. Really? That's great! But, the smaller raccoon scratched his head. Where's the river again? The bigger one frowned. I thought it was that way. He pointed to the right. No. The smaller one argued, pointing to the left. It's definitely over there. Cappy's ears drooped. Are you sure? Absolutely, the smaller raccoon said confidently. Then he turned to his friend. Wait, am I sure? The bigger raccoon shrugged. Probably, or maybe not. Cappy sighed, but before she could thank them for trying, the smaller raccoon jumped up. Wait, I have an idea. We'll take you with us and we can all look together. The bigger raccoon grinned. Yeah, it'll be fun. We can show you the coolest places in the forest. Before Cappy could say no, the raccoons grabbed her by her front paws and started leading her down the path. Come on, you'll love it. The raccoons chattered non-stop as they walked. They pointed out every little thing they passed. A funny-shaped rock, a pile of leaves, even a bug crawling along a tree trunk. Look at that bug. Isn't he the best bug you've ever seen? Cappy couldn't help but giggle. He's very nice. The raccoons ran ahead, darting in and out of bushes, laughing and playing as they went. For a little while, Cappy forgot she was lost. She even joined in one of their games, hopping over logs and splashing in a puddle. But as the sky turned a deeper shade of orange, Cappy remembered her family waiting for her at home. I think I need to keep going now, she said, stopping in the middle of the path. The raccoons skidded to a halt and turned to look at her. Aw, really? The smaller one said. But we were just getting started. I know, Cappy said kindly, but I really need to find my way back to the river. My mom and little brother are probably worried about me. The raccoons exchanged a glance, then nodded. Okay, the bigger one said. We'll miss you, though. You're fun. Cappy smiled. Thank you for trying to help and for making me laugh. The smaller raccoon waved one last time. Good luck, Cappy. If you ever get lost again, come find us. Cappy waved back and continued down the path. The raccoons had made her feel a little less lonely, but she still didn't know where to go. As she walked, the trees around her seemed to grow larger and darker. Her legs felt heavy and her heart sank a little. Come on, Cappy, she whispered to herself. You can do this. You're almost there. You just have to keep going. She had no idea what was waiting for her around the next bend, but she kept her chin up and her paws moving forward. Chapter 5. The Bear Who Knows Best. The forest was darker now, with long shadows stretching across the ground. Cappy's paws ached, and her stomach gave a small grumble. She missed her mom's soothing voice, her little brother's playful hops, and the soft grass near their cozy riverbank. As she trudged forward, Cappy suddenly felt the ground beneath her paws grow softer and squishier. She looked down and realized she was walking on a muddy trail. Her nose twitched. There was a faint smell of water nearby. Maybe I'm close, she said aloud, her voice trembling with hope. But before she could take another step, a deep, rumbling voice stopped her in her tracks. Who's wandering through my part of the forest? Cappy froze, her heart thumping wildly. From behind a large bush, a towering shape emerged. It was a bear, a big, round bear with thick, shaggy fur and eyes that twinkled like the stars. Oh, Cappy stammered, trying not to sound as scared as she felt. I'm sorry if I'm bothering you. I'm just lost. The bear tilted his head, his expression softening. Lost, huh? Well, you don't look like much trouble to me. He plopped down onto the ground with a heavy thud and stretched his big paws in front of him. The name's Barry. And who might you be, little one? I'm Cappy, she said, her voice a little steadier now. I'm trying to find my way back to my home by the river. Do you know where it is? Barry scratched his chin thoughtfully. A river, you say? There's a lot of forest between here and any water, but... He paused, looking up at a nearby tree. Maybe I can help. You can? Cappy asked, her eyes wide with hope. Barry grinned. Of course, I may be big, but I'm also great at climbing. If I get up high, I can take a look around. Cappy blinked. You can climb trees, but you're so big. Barry let out a deep chuckle. Don't let my size fool you, little one. Watch this. With surprising agility, Barry stood up, wrapped his big paws around the nearest tree trunk, and began to climb. The tree creaked a little under his weight, but Barry moved quickly, pulling himself higher and higher until he reached the top. Cappy watched from below, her heart racing. Be careful up there, she called. Don't worry about me, Barry said, his voice floating down through the branches. I've been climbing trees since I was a cub. From the treetop, Barry peered out over the forest. He turned his head this way and that, his sharp eyes scanning the horizon. Finally, he let out a triumphant roar. I see it, he called down. I see the river, and there's a clearing near it. Must be where your family lives. Cappy's heart leapt with joy. Really? You found it? Barry climbed down just as quickly as he had gone up. When he reached the ground, he gave Cappy a big, toothy grin. It's not far. Just head down that trail over there. He pointed with one of his massive paws. Cappy's eyes filled with happy tears. Thank you, Barry. Thank you so much. Barry nodded. It's nothing, kid. Just be careful, it's getting dark. Stick to the trail and you'll be home before you know it. Cappy hesitated for a moment, then gave Barry a quick hug around his furry leg. You're the best bear ever. Barry chuckled and patted her gently on the head. Go on now, your family's waiting. With a grateful smile, Cappy turned and hurried down the trail Barry had pointed out. Her paws felt lighter, and her heart was full of excitement. She could hear the faint sound of water now, and the air smelled fresher, like the river she called home. As the trail opened up, she spotted the familiar clearing by the riverbank. There, standing by the water, were her mom and little brother. Mom! Benny! Cappy called, running as fast as her little legs would carry her. Her mom turned, her face lighting up with relief. Cappy! Oh, we were so worried about you! Cappy threw herself into her mom's warm hug, feeling safe and loved. Benny hopped around excitedly, chattering about how he thought she'd gone on an adventure. I did, Cappy said, laughing, but I'm never wandering off again. Promise! As they settled down by the riverbank, Cappy told them all about her journey. About Sprig the squirrel, Olive the wise owl, the silly raccoons, and Barry the brave bear who helped her find her way. That night, as she snuggled close to her family, the sound of the river flowing gently beside them, Cappy smiled. She had learned that even when you're lost, a little bravery and some kind friends can help you find your way home. And with that thought, she drifted off to sleep, safe and happy once again.